Yo, 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 shalom, 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 family. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day. Greetings to you guys, wherever you may be listening in from around the world. We would like to welcome you guys back to another episode of the Daily Bread Podcast, the place where we read the word of Yahuah daily. And the podcast is presented to you guys by Living for Yahuah Ministry. I am your host and your brother, Yahuah Yasharal, and we are gathered here today, family, to read another chapter. So as you can see from the title, we continue now reading in the book of 2 Samuel, aka 2 Samuel, and today we are diving into chapter 17. But before we get started and we get into our chapter for the day, we're going to open up with a few preliminary measures where, first of all, I'm going to give you guys a very brief recap just to make sure that everybody is on the same page, literally and figuratively, for context sake, so everybody understands exactly what we're reading about and how this relates to the whole scheme in the Bible or the scriptures. Then we're going to open up in prayer. We're going to have a very brief prayer where we just give praise to Yahuah and make supplication before Elohim. Then we get into our chapter for the day. And finally, we will save any conclusions, thoughts, observations of the chapter until the end. And that'll be an episode for the day. So as far as the recap goes, just understand Daily Bread Podcast is reading scripture from the front to the back, right? So which means we started already with the most important part, the Torah. We read Genesis, the story about how Yahuah created man. We read Exodus, the story in the chapter, the book about how Yahuah created the nation of Yasharal and brought them out of slavery, created a covenant with them. That's all very important. Everything that's happening now revolves around what took place in the Torah, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's very important. That's the foundation. And it's so important because, like I was just talking about Exodus and the covenant he made with Yasharal, even when we get to the New Testament, when we get to the renewed covenant, right? The Mashiach, all the disciples, all the way into the end of the book, literally everybody, every time they mention, they reference anything, they're going to be referencing back. And that's so important to understand. Very paramount principle to understand. Like, the most important part is in the beginning, and that's the part most people skip. So we have to say it every day. Like, if you're not familiar with that foundation, then the things we read in the middle of the book, you may not get the full depth of it, and that is what we want to avoid. So that's the purpose of the recap. So yeah, Genesis and Exodus where Yahuah created a covenant with Yasharal. The book of Leviticus where he chose the priesthood and told us the rules of how to approach the throne, officiate everything, and conduct the sacrifice offerings and the like. The book of Numbers, he tested us in the wilderness for 40 years. Book of Deuteronomy was a huge recap like we got right now. And so that led us all to the Yahushua, Shaphatim, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. So we pretty much in the middle part of the book, almost really there right now before we get into the major prophets. But the point is, we are in the promised land, and the things we're reading about now is all with the context, understanding what the Torah is. Cool. So with all of that said, with all Yahuah has done for us, how he's brought us from out of slavery into the promised land again and again and again. And literally that whole cycle is secular. It's happened multiple times, right? So we got a lot to be thankful for. The fact that we still here as a remnant, as a nation, still have our history and heritage to hold on to. So with that said, let's make supplication to Elohim. Let's get up, let's pray, and give him his esteem, right? Yahuah is the Elohim of Yasharal, and it's no secret, and we should go before him as often as possible, right? So we're going to stand, face the direction of Jerusalem, the place where Yahuah put his name, and make prayer. All right, so that direction is relative compared to where you are, but let's do it. Baruch atah Yahuah Eloheinu Hamalat Ulam. Our Father who is in the heavens, permit your name to be set apart. Permit your reign to come. Permit your desire to be done on earth as it is in heaven. We come before you today asking and praying that you give us this day our daily bread. We ask that you sustain us like only you can. We also ask that you forgive us for our sins and our trespasses against your Torah and your commands as we forgive our debtors. And we forgive those who trespass against us. We ask that you forgive us. Ultimately, we ask that you allow us not to be led into trial, but that you save us and deliver us from the wicked one. For yours is the reign, the power, and the esteem, now and forever. These things and more, many more. Also, we want to just thank you for all of the people that's under the sound of my voice. All of the people that's united in one mind, one heart, one body to praise you, to esteem you, to return to your covenant, to uphold the history and heritage of Yaakov, of Abraham, of Yasharal. And we just ask that you continue to draw our hearts near to you and guide us on the path of righteousness for your name's sake. So these things and more we pray in the name of our Mashiach and sovereign Yahushua. Halal Yahuah, Tudah Yahuah, Yabadakak Yahuah, Amen. So it is. Let it be. So, great. So all that said, we are here. We at the point where we came for, where we getting into the chapter for the day, the word for today. So let's read and see how the story unfolds. So see 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 1. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, let me choose 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue due tonight. So most of us read the previous chapter, but just so we aware of the nuances of what's happening here. So okay, dude's son came up, rose up against him, basically not face to face, but in a conspiracy, took the throne and announced himself king. So David fled. So what happened is you got some people who stayed in the city, some people whose loyalty transferred to his son, some people who loyal to the father. So now you got two people's counsel right now. You got Ahithophel, right? He is like one who had issue with dude, and his loyalty went to his son, right? And his counsel was very revered, Ahithophel. And then you had Hushai. Hushai is somebody who is also giving counsel to Absalom, dude's son, but his loyalty is with the father. So basically, that's what's happening. So I hope everybody understands that. So with that said, let me just read this again. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, let me choose 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue dude tonight. Verse 2. I will come upon him while he is weary and discouraged and throw him into a panic. And all the people who are with him will flee, and I will strike down only the king. So this is serious. His son is actually considering getting his father killed. That's crazy. He finna get his father whacked. But verse 3. And I will bring all the people back to you as a bride comes home to her husband. You seek the life of only one man, and all the people will be at peace. Sound like good advice, right? Verse 4. And the advice seemed right in the eyes of Absalom and all the elders of Yasharal. So obviously this is like a strategic war room council session, and this guy Ahithophel is, this is what we finna do. We finna kill your daddy, right? Cool. Verse 5. Then Absalom said, call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he has to say. And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom said to him, thus has Ahithophel spoken. Will we do as he says? If not, you speak. Then Hushai said to Absalom, this time the counsel that Ahithophel has given is not good. Hushai said, you know that your father and his men are mighty men, and that they are enraged, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. Besides, your father is expert in war. He will not spend the night with the people. Behold, even now he has hidden himself in one of the pits or in some other place. And as soon as some of the people fall at the first attack, whoever hears it will say, there has been a slaughter among the people who followed Absalom. Verse 10. So he basically advising them like, nah, that's not a good idea. Let's not go after your father right now. Like, basically. Verse 10. Then even the valiant men whose heart is like the heart of a lion will utterly melt with fear. For all Yasharal knows that your father is a mighty man, and that those who are with him are also valiant men. But my counsel shall be gathered to you, then and multitude, and that you go to battle in person. You want the kingdom so bad? Get in that field, buddy. Verse 12. So we will come upon him in some place where he is to be found, and we will fight, and we will light upon him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and all the men with him, not one will be left. If he withdraws into a city, then all Yasharal will bring ropes to that city, and we will drag it into the valley until not even a pebble is to be found there. And Absalom and all of the men of Yasharal said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For Yahuah has ordained to defeat the good counsel. For Yahuah had ordained to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that Yahuah might bring harm upon Absalom. Okay, verse 15. Then Hushai said to Zadok and Abiathar, the priest, thus and so did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Yasharal, and thus and so have I counseled. Now therefore send quickly and tell do not stay tonight at the fords of the wilderness, but by all means pass over, lest the king and all the people who are with him be swallowed up. Right. So you see that again. Hushai said to Zadok and Abiathar the priest, he is sending word back. He is like the one who's still in the city, but he telling dude what's going on in the city. Like, yo, they plotting on you. You better get up out of there. And that's life, man. A lot of this stuff, that's why I like to read the scriptures every day, because a lot of these scenarios relate to many situations in life where we all could be experiencing these things in some way or another. It may not always be life or death situation, but it be situations that's social or whatever the case may be. Verse 17. Now Yehonathan and Achimaaz were waiting at En Regal. A female servant was to go and tell them, and they were to go and tell King Du, for they were not to be seen entering the city. But a young man saw them and told Absalom. So both of them went away quickly and came to the house of a man at Bahurim, who had a well in his courtyard, and they went down into it. And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth and scattered grain on it, and nothing was known of it. When Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house, they said, where are Achimaaz and Yehonathan? And the woman said to them, they have gone over the brook of Warden. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Verse 21. After they had gone, the men came up out of the well and went and told King David. They said to David, arise and go quickly over the water, for thus and so has Ahithophel counseled against you. Then David arose, and all the people who were with him, and they arose and crossed the Jordan. By daybreak, not one was left who had not crossed the Yarden. Verse 23. When Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his donkey and went off home to his own city. He set his house in order and hanged himself. And he died and was buried in the tomb of his father. That's crazy. So just because people ain't listen to what he said, he was big mad about that. And he killed himself. And that was the counsel, that was the plan for Yahuah, right? To defeat his, what, how can I say it? His unloyal counsel. He's switching sides. He's trying to get somebody killed that ain't do nothing, and he ended up being the first one to die in the whole situation. That's crazy. Verse 24. Then dude came to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed the Yarden with all the men of Yasharal. Now Absalom had set Amasa over the army instead of Yoab. Amasa was the son of a man named Ithra the Ishmaelite, who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. So they all was family, and he was married to some Ishmaelites. That's crazy. Verse 26. And Yasharal and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. Verse 27. When dude came to Mahanaim, Shubi, the son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and Makir, the son of Amiel from Ladabar, and Barzillai, the Gileadite from Rogelim, brought beds, basins, and earthen vessels, wheat, barley, flour, parched grain, beans, and lentils, honey and curds, and sheep and cheese from the herd, for Dude and the people with him to eat. For they said, the people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. Wow. So people showing kindness to Dude, continuing to show kindness as he in exile. And you still got his son who has listened to counsel, which was counsel that gave basically a delay and gave time for Dude to get away. They basically have assembled themselves to chase after their father, his father. And Dude is fleeing because he's getting advanced knowledge. And you still have some people, you know, showing him kindness in the wilderness, showing him favor. Because he was somebody that was known all over, even outside of Jerusalem, outside of Yasharal. People always show bro love because he had spent time at different places, and you know, he was respected everywhere. But what's crazy to me is just that as we continue to read and look at all of the life and times of somebody like David, King Dude, you see that this man spent a lot of time in exile. Like if you look at his life, it's a good, like I say, it's a what they call it, not a synopsis, but it's like an example, like an analogy, like it's like a metaphor for like a lot of the, you know, not a lot of our life, but like the ideal life of somebody that follow Yahuah, because he spent a lot of time in seclusion and isolation. He was like no stranger to that, you know. Obviously he was able to be around people, lead out the army, judge and Yasharal as the king on the throne, but you know, from his youth, he was a shepherd, and he said, and like verbatim, hey, I'm not scared of Goliath. I done spent time out there with the sheep, attacking, you know what I'm saying, defending them with the lion, tigers, and bears and all that. So he was secluded as a young man, like in exile, not in exile, but just being a shepherd by nature is a lonely job. Like you in desert places with just the sheep. You're not in the city. Like that's what shepherds do by default. So you already spent a lot of time in his youth, like isolated, excluded, like isolated in a sense. Then defeat Goliath, you know, you become Shaul, friend, buddy. Now he's jealous of you. He chased you away into exile, into the wilderness, into seclusion for a long time, like a couple years. We don't really know. It never say how many years he was chased around, like in the wilderness, 3 years, 5 years. But it was a period of time, right? And it wasn't like a couple of days. It was like some years. And that even made him have to cross out of the bounds of Yasharal and go to the other side. And you know what I'm saying? He over there with the Gershites and the other people. And now, again, like in his older age, and it don't tell us how old he is exactly, but he got children that's already old enough to try to kill him. So, I mean, he passed 30s and 40s. You know what I'm saying? His kids must be 20s, 30s, maybe 40s by now. So, you know, it's just interesting how often this man has been driven into isolation, seclusion, into exile, into the wilderness, right? Into that, drawing near into that, he's been pushed to that place where you got to draw near to Yahuah. There's nobody there but you and Yahuah and the animals, maybe, and the other people that's in isolation with you. But of course, maybe you ain't around them all day. Sometimes you gotta, like you say, separate from the camp and have your own space to think and just strategize. And for safety purpose, not be among everybody so that they don't get all y'all at one time. So it's a lot to it. You know what I'm saying? It's military strategy. Is like, what? How can you say, like, camping, or like, you know what I'm saying, like wildlife and just like outdoor living involved, like outdoor survival. It's a lot of survival aspects to it. You know, some of it strategic, some of it just wilderness survival. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting how much that plays a role in this person's life. And you know, you think about it today, we don't, a lot of us haven't really experienced that. Most of us grew up in cities, go to school, metro, districts, and we spend our life around other people, like in the city, in the car, in traffic, around all these people, go to work, around people, come home, you know, family at home, and then you just in the metro area. A lot of us in the modern age spend our life in a modern setting, metro setting. And that's how they would have it by design, you know, like that's what this whole what they say, like metropolitan lifestyle, just this whole urban lifestyle is about. And that's the plan, like 15-minute cities, everything you need in 15-minute walking distance or whatever. But that's not how it always was. Like a lot of us, our parents grew up maybe in the country, in seclusion sometime, whatever, maybe going to Boy Scouts or whatever, going on a camping trip now and then, traveling to the country now and then to see family, friends, relatives, going to the farm, kind of more balance in life with the metro lifestyle, with isolation, farming, camping, wilderness, survival lifestyle. It was maybe a blend more before. Obviously in due time, again, he was no stranger to this stuff. But in this time, a lot of our generation, what I noticed is a lot of our generation not, in, like, we don't get to experience that. For me personally, like you said, that was one good thing about traveling. A lot of us used to travel more. Maybe some people have, but when you go outside of the country, it is a little more secluded. Even if you're in the city, you feel secluded, but you get to go to a lot more remote regions as well that are literally, like whatever. You get maybe camping, wildlife, wilderness experiences more outside the country, or whatever the case may be. But just noticing that how dude was no stranger to that, the isolation, the wilderness, and maybe by design. Maybe that's what Yahuah want us to have more in our life sometime. We know that was a big part of the culture in Yasharal. Again, being shepherds, a nation of shepherds. Dude was a shepherd, maybe the most famous one, but Abraham was too. And Isaac, Yasharal, Moses, all of the, prophets, the priests, a lot of them were shepherds, right? And Exodus is say that about nation Yasharal, like we were herders, we were shepherds. And that's why the Egyptians didn't like them. There was a stench to the Egyptians because they're going everywhere with all this sheep and goats and cattle. So that was crazy. But yeah, man, what shall we say then? Your son rise up against you, try to kill you. And you could have killed him already, but that's your son. And of course, we have to mention all of this again is punishment. It is the reward for what dude did to Uriah the Hittite. He knew that the sword would come into his house. So vengeance belongs to Yahuah. You know, what more can we say? It just remind us to walk a straight line, right? Path is narrow, man. So I'm gonna leave it there. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the chapter. What stood out to you? Make sure, please, like, subscribe, comment, share with somebody who you know would benefit from hearing the word of Yahuah, or who interested in hearing the word of Yahuah. And again, thank you to everybody who continue to support the platform, the ministry, the podcast. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, what you think about the chapter. And we're looking forward very much to the next chapter to see how the story continues to unfold, because is we really in the thick of things right now. Like I say, David or dude has been through this so much, but this man's getting older now, and it's like, I wonder how this is gonna be resolved, you know. And it's such an unfortunate situation though. So we'll see, man. Until the next time, till the next chapter, shalom, shalom, and peace in the Middle East, family.